I'd like to now introduce Rabbi Manis Friedman to speak to us some words of Torah, preparing us for the high holidays of Hashanah Yom Kippur coming up. Rabbi Friedman is the Dean of the Beis Chana Women's Institute, author of many best-selling books, and YouTube's most watched rabbi. Without further ado, Rabbi Friedman.
Thank you. I understand that Tzvi produces chocolate.
Yes.
In that merit alone, he should have a refuah shlema. Giving people chocolate is like giving people love. You know, we know that everything in this world, in the physical world, originates in something heavenly. Everything that exists here exists in heaven first, and then it kind of evolves down into the physical. And sometimes when it reaches the physical, it's not as positive as it was when it started off. You know, like the joke about, it's a match made in heaven. Yeah, but you're trying to do it on earth, and that could be a little difficult. In heaven, I'm sure it works. So where does illness begin? Why does illness exist at all? So we find out from the Song of Songs, from Shir HaShirim, we find out that there is a godly condition, a holy condition, called lovesick. Nafshi chelas ahavasecha. What does lovesick mean? It means a really intense love that gets frustrated if it's not expressed or reciprocated. If you love someone very much and they don't love you back, it's a love sickness. If you love someone but you can't be with them, there's distance, that's called lovesick. So when the soul leaves heaven and comes down to earth, it always suffers lovesickness, or we call it homesick. Homesickness, which means I have a home, and that home is very, very important to me and very special and very necessary. So if I'm not home, I miss it. That is the origin of all illness, because illness means a disturbance. The first disturbance is when the soul leaves heaven. It goes from the highest of the high coming down to the lowest of the low world. That's a disturbance. It's a good thing. The soul is on a mission. But at the same time, there's chelas ahava, there is that love sickness that draws us back to God. Only we're wise enough to know that leaving earth and returning to heaven is not the closest and most intimate connection to God. Being here and doing what he needs from us, that's a much closer connection. And that will satisfy and heal the love sickness better than if we go to heaven. This is really important concerning the davening on Rosh Hashanah. Most people assume that the davening on Rosh Hashanah, all the prayers on Rosh Hashanah, are prayers for life. We're asking for life. Zochreinu l'chayim, kosveinu b'sefer hachayim. It's all about life. From a Jewish perspective, life on earth is real life. Life in heaven, it's not the real thing. So the soul that goes to heaven, and we say Yizkor for that soul, and we say Kaddish for that soul, but being in heaven is like being in a holding pattern. When the plane can't land and it just flies around in the sky, waiting for some place to land. The soul goes to heaven and it waits. I mean, it's not a bad place. You're well taken care of in heaven. But effectively, the soul is waiting for the world to become godly, for Mashiach to come, and then the soul will return to earth. Because earth, life on earth, is the real life. So when we daven on Rosh Hashanah and we're asking for life, we're not saying, I don't want to die. We're not paranoid. We know we're not going to die. We're going to have a good, sweet, and productive year. What we're concerned with is how that year is going to be treated. What am I going to do with this year of life that I'm sure God is going to give me? So it's not pleading with God to let us live. That misses the point. We're pleading with God to make our life worthy, to make another year of life what it should be, because we're a little disappointed in what it was last year. Last year, we didn't maximize. We didn't take full advantage of all the opportunities to serve God and to do good and to make the world better. So Rosh Hashanah, we're concerned. I know I'm going to have another year of life, but where do I get the wisdom and the motivation and the inspiration to make sure that this year of life is going to be better than last year of life? So when we say Zochreinu l'chaim, we don't mean we don't want to die. We mean life is so precious, the thought of wasting a year is really scary. So why is it called days of awe? Yomim Noiroim? Most people think it's awesome because we're being judged and we might not live. That's awesome. No, it's not. What's awesome is that we're going to live. The Yomim Noiroim is when we focus on life, and life is awesome. And that's why we so desperately want help from above, that the coming year should be much more productive and much godlier and much more pleasing to God than last year. No matter how good last year was. That's awesome. Life is scarier because you really got to know how to live. For that you need wisdom. For that you need insight. So that's what we're asking for on Rosh Hashanah. In fact, one of the central prayers of both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in the Amidah is the prayer for the world, that the world should know the truth, that the world should recognize its creator. V'yeda kol pa'ol she'ata pa'alte. Everything you created should know that you created it. in essence, what we're saying is that Rosh Hashanah is like an expression of lovesickness. We know who our Creator is. We know who our Father in heaven is. We know that we're here on a mission from Him, and we desperately want to do it right. One of the silver lining behind all illness, and particularly the illness that is plaguing our generation, the silver lining is that when a person goes through such dangerous and painful experiences, it's a chayla. He is, we say in the Mishaberach, we say, he is a chayla. He is suffering from sickness. But the silver lining is that he's also experiencing love sickness. Person whose life is threatened has two feelings. One is the resistance to dying. The other one is a newfound respect for life. So chayla can be a spiritual experience. It always is to some degree, but it gets kind of lost in the worries and the concerns with the medical issues, and we forget. Every chayla gets closer to God in that his appreciation for life becomes deeper, not just the fear of death. That's the negative side. The positive side is life becomes precious. And when life becomes precious, you start to focus on what is life for. To waste a day is terrible. To waste a year, unthinkable. So we start to become aware that there is something I need to accomplish every day. And that affects the whole world, not just myself. This is a cosmic mission. So it's not just me. Now I have a much bigger, broader view of reality. People come out healthier. Not just survive. So what we're praying for and what we're wishing for Tzvi is not just survival. That he should come back stronger, wiser, more inspired, produce more chocolate, make it cheaper for people to afford, make the world better. And I'm sure that given his personality, that's what's going to happen. So, Rosh Hashanah, we have to be really, really careful because it's become some kind of a habit for people, particularly Orthodox people, that Rosh Hashanah is a time of worry. You know, our life hangs in the balance and we're being judged. And, you know, we all know we're not perfect. So the judgment is probably going to be negative unless we beg and plead and promise God that we'll be better and he should forgive us. It's too negative, way too negative. Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Tov. You're not allowed to be sad on Rosh Hashanah. Not even on Yom Kippur, really. So the way to get ready for Rosh Hashanah this year is optimistically. It's Yom Tov. God is promising us another year, not threatening us. So we approach Rosh Hashanah with optimism, with absolute confidence. The past year with all of its troubles will end. A new year will begin. A new year has new possibilities, new realities, new potential. and it's all going to be wonderful. That's Rosh Hashanah. So what God is going to give us and what God is going to do for us is going to be wonderful. So what are you worried about? You're worried God is going to give us this incredible gift. But am I ready? Will I handle this gift properly? That's the concern of Rosh Hashanah. So I want to tell you an interesting story. The chief rabbi of Israel, the former Rabbi Lau Sr., if you haven't read his book, his autobiography, you should. It's an amazing book. And he's an amazing man. He went from being a child in a concentration camp to becoming the chief rabbi of Israel. Not bad. Not bad at all. He was visiting with the Rebbe. And they spoke about all the problems in Israel and all the problems of Jewish communities around the world, because he traveled and he saw what was going on in all the Jewish communities. So they spoke about all the problems, all the issues, and all the concerns. And then Rabbi Lau said to the Rebbe, "Was it sein? What's going to be?" And the Rebbe said to him, rather than asking what's going to be, we should ask, what more can we do? Rabbi Lau repeats that, quotes the Rebbe in almost every speech he makes. The first time I heard it from him, I thought, what's wrong with asking what's going to be? Yeah, you have to ask what can we do, but what's wrong with asking what's going to be? It's not a good question. Wouldn't it be nice to know what's going to be? So why did the Rebbe reject that question? The Rebbe could have said, when he asks what's going to be, the Rebbe could have said, well, you know, there's more for us to do, so let's get busy doing. Why reject the question? So my first thought was, foolishly, the Rebbe doesn't want to talk about what's going to be. It's too depressing, too worrisome. So many problems. What's going to be? So the Rebbe said, no, let's not go there. It's too depressing. Let's talk about what we can do. But then, of course, that doesn't sound like the Rebbe at all. It's not even possible that that's what the Rebbe meant. So my second thought was, the Rebbe is a very practical, action-oriented person, and he's saying, rather than asking what's going to be, which we can't really control, let's talk about what we can control. That sounds a little better, but it still doesn't sound like the Rebbe. So after that, I thought, if I were to just walk up to the Rebbe and say, Rebbe, what's going to be? Predict the future. I know exactly what the Rebbe would say. We all know. What's going to be? Mashiach is going to come and it's going to be fantastic. What kind of question? The future is absolutely positive. The future is absolutely awesome. Now you might think, if that's the case, then I have no further questions. So the Rebbe says, no, there's still a question. And the question is, what more can we do? That is a fascinating Jewish mentality. If I know it's going to be good, why am I concerned with what more we can do? Relax. It's going to be great. Mashiach is coming. I think most other nations, most other people would have that reaction. If you're sure it's going to be good, then that's it. Then I'm retired. Nothing more to do. It's all going to be good. So the Rebbe was saying, why ask what's going to be when we know the answer? What's going to be? It's going to be a beautiful world. What is the world going to be like after this COVID, after this pandemic? It's going to be so much better than before. No question. So when other people would relax and say, fine, no further questions, a Jew says, yeah, but is there something I can do? Can I pitch in? Can I be part of that improvement and that perfection? Because I'm here on a mission. So under these circumstances, what more can I do? What's my mission now? Now that I know that everything is going to be good, what should I do today to help make things good? Where do we find this in Jewish teachings and in Jewish writings? We find it in the Megillah. If you remember, Mordechai asks Esther to go to the king. Esther says, I have not been invited. If I go uninvited, I could get killed. Mordechai says, don't think about yourself. Don't try to hide in the palace. You need to go. He's saying, risk your life. Now, if you want to inspire someone to risk their life, you have to give them good reason, no? Mordechai says something very strange to Esther. He says, I want you to know without a shadow of a doubt that Revach v'hatzolo yamed laYehudim mimokim acher. Jews are going to be fine with or without you. Because the Jewish people are forever. So, no, we don't need you to save Am Yisrael. Don't get dramatic. It's a strange thing to say. You want to inspire her to risk her life on behalf of her people, and you assure her that it's going to be okay? Then why should she risk her life? See, anybody would risk their life to save their people. If you could save a whole country, if you could save a whole nation, wouldn't you risk your life? Anybody would. And feel like a martyr and feel proud and feel important. Mordechai says to Esther, this is not the way life works. You're not here to save the Jewish people. You are here to elevate the little piece of the world that you can control. Because everyone was given a little piece. Just like when the Jews came to Israel for the first time, every tribe was given a certain amount of real estate, their portion of the Holy Land. As if to say, you take care of this piece of geography. This is your responsibility. You make this piece of the world holy. The other tribe will make another piece of the world holy. Now that we're spread throughout the world, it means that it's not enough to make the Holy Land holy, which is quite not so difficult. Now the challenge is to make every place in the world holy. Wherever a Jew finds himself against his will, that's where he is needed, and that's where he can make his contribution. So hear what Mordechai says to Esther. This is not about saving the Jewish people. This is about being the queen of Persia. Why? Why did you become the queen of Persia? What are you doing sitting in the palace for 10 years? Not wanting to be there, having to hide the fact that you're Jewish. Why? What is the purpose and what is your mission? So for 10 years, you've been wondering. Now you see the answer. See, this is why you became the queen. This is your soul's purpose and mission. To fulfill your soul's purpose, that's all. That's the whole thing for you. You don't want to miss that. And for that alone, it's worth risking your life, because this is what your life is all about. So Mordechai was saying to Esther, each of us, we have a mission, and it's not global. It's just our portion, our little piece of creation that we are responsible for. If it's only a little piece of creation, how seriously should I take it? You should take it very seriously, because this is why you are who you are. This is why you were born. This is why you're here. This explains everything. So yes, you should even risk your life if you have to fulfill the purpose of your existence, not to save the world. That is so Jewish. Jews risk their lives to do a mitzvah. That's our history. So here's what the Rebbe was saying to Rabbi Lau. Rather than ask what's going to be, which we already know the answer, because it's going to be very good, ask what more we can do, because that's Jewish. Anybody else, when God says, don't worry, everything is going to be good, they retire. I'm going to go to heaven? Yeah, for sure. Good. And I don't have to do anything. We're different. When God comes and says, it's going to be very good and you're going to have a portion in the world to come and you're going to go straight to heaven, that's when we say, okay, so what should I do? Now I'm ready to serve you with my whole heart. That's the Barditchever, who loved every Jew with a passion. He would argue with God, and he said to God, you're trying to make us better by challenging us with danger and with persecution and with exiles. And you know, if you were good to us, we would be even better. We're not like other nations. Other nations get very content and smug if you're good to them. We're different. The better you are to us, the better we will be for you. So give us everything good, and we will be even better than we are today. So, looking forward to Rosh Hashanah, from a Jewish perspective, is that on Rosh Hashanah, God is going to seal us in the book of life. Okay, the sealing comes later. He'll write us into the book of life without a question, without a doubt. And it's going to be a better life than last year. Much better. It's got to be better than last year. So it's going to be a much better life. What does that do to us? It makes us want to serve him more. So when we know the answer to the question, what's going to be, we get very excited about the question, what more can I do? Thinking positive, by the way, is the best medicine in the world. If we're thinking positive, Tzvi is going to be coming back, returning to his chocolate factory. He's going to be healthy. He's going to live a long and productive life. Thinking that does more for him than what the hospital is doing for him. So we got to get into a very positive frame of mind. And it's powerful. He will feel it. You won't even have to tell him. When you're trusting God, you're fulfilling a huge mitzvah. So saying Tehillim is a mitzvah, giving tzedakah for him is a mitzvah. They're all good. But the biggest mitzvah of all is bitachon, trust in God. If you're optimistic, if you're positive, if you're confident that it's going to be good, that mitzvah, more than all the rest, will help speed the recovery and bring the good news that we're expecting, because positivity is much more powerful than negativity, and illness is a negativity. So this Shabbos, we should celebrate Tzvi's recovery with absolute confidence. Create those positive vibes. One more thought about the davening. It seems really strange. The theme on Rosh Hashanah is that we are proclaiming God as our King. It's a very big celebration. If you can imagine, in the days of royalty, the coronation, the ceremony, the excitement, we're coronating the king. It's a yontif. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. And then 10 days later, Yom Kippur comes, and on Yom Kippur we ask for forgiveness. It seems backwards. First you make him your king, and then you apologize for all the things you did that were wrong? Shouldn't you first clear the slate? Let's wash away our sins, get clean. Now you coronate the king and you start off on the right foot. But what does it mean? First, we'll make him our king, we'll make a big ceremony, then we'll apologize for what we did last year. Why does it work that way? So here's another uniquely Jewish concept that we should share with the world. Asking for forgiveness, doing tshuva, repentance, regrets. What is that all about? If a person says, I committed a sin and I really regret it. Let's use Bernie Madoff as an example. Bernie Madoff is thinking, sitting in jail, and he's thinking, I really regret what I did. And he tells you, he says, what I did was so bad, it was so wrong, I would never do it again. I would never do that again. Do you believe him? Do you hear what he's saying? If I get out of jail and I'm back in business and I see an opportunity to steal $50 billion, not going to do it. Really? Why not? Because it's wrong or because you're afraid of getting caught? Anytime a person says, I committed a sin and I regret it. Now, if you committed the sin unknowingly, accidentally, then it makes sense. I didn't know it was a sin. If I knew, I wouldn't have done it. Now I know, I'm not going to do it. So what really happened is not regret. What really happened is you got educated. You didn't know, now you know. But if you knew that it was a sin when you did it, and then the next day you say, I'm so upset, I regret it so much, I'll never do that again. Why wouldn't you do it again? What changed? Chances are you'll do it again. Why? For the same reason you did it the first time. What changed? But imagine if Bernie Madoff says to you, I got a letter from a woman who survived the war and went through the camps, came to America, worked very hard, put together a few dollars, and invested it with me, and I stole it from her. And she wrote me a letter saying that she's desperate. She has nothing to live with. I would never do that to her again. Would you believe him? I would believe him. The reason he stole her money is because he didn't know who she was. He wasn't really thinking about her. He was just thinking about money. But now that she has a face, now that she has a personality, he knows who she is, he would not do that to her again. Not to her. See, that's real regret. Regret is not, I hate what I did. I'm upset about who I did it to. Who did I do this to? That makes it believable. You did the sin when you weren't thinking about God. Now that you've had a minute to think about God, you're feeling like, I shouldn't do that to him. He's been good to me. Why am I not good to him? That's real regret. Real regret means I would never do that to him. Not I would never do that. There's almost no sin that a person can honestly say, that is so bad I would never do it again. It's not what you did. It's who did you do it to? Sometimes a person thinks, to my own mother? I did that to my own mother? Not to her. Or, I did this to another Jew? To my fellow Jew? Not to another Jew. Or, I did this against God? I'm going to come and ask God to give me all sorts of blessings. So I want him to be nice to me. And to him, I'm not nice? To him? Sometimes it's me. What did I just do to myself? I did it to myself. I'm hurting myself. Why would I do that? So it's always who was offended, who got hurt, who is your victim. You never want to do that to this person again, even if the person happens to be you. But that's real regret. A person eats a non-kosher sandwich. He says, oh, I would never do that again. Why not? What's the matter? It didn't taste good. You're disappointed. It's not what you did. You could do that again. If you do it once, you can do it again. The regret is, who are you doing this to? So that's what tshuva means. When we apologize to God for what we did, it's not because we're ashamed of what we did. We're ashamed of who we did it to. Okay. That explains why Rosh Hashanah comes before Yom Kippur. Before Yom Kippur, I haven't focused on God. I haven't made him my king. I didn't call him Avinu Malkeinu. I didn't coronate him. So what am I regretting? But when God accepts our coronation, and he says, yes, I will be your king for another year, and a king provides all the needs of the country. So God says, I will give you life, I will give you health, I will give you abilities and talents. Now, all of a sudden, and to him I sinned, now I regret it. So first you have to know who you sinned against. Then you can say, I regret what I did. Because it's who, not what. So the apology comes after you know who you're apologizing to. The main thing is no crying. No crying on Rosh Hashanah. It's Yom Tov. God is preparing to give you a wonderful year and you're sitting there crying and kvetching? It's not nice. It's not nice. When you come to shul on Rosh Hashanah, you're coming with absolute optimism, absolute trust, and absolute awe. Another year of life. Don't mess it up. Make a plan. It's going to be a better year because you're going to make it better. Not just let God make it better. What more can I do? I know God is going to do his best. But what more can I do to make the coming year a marvelous, awesome year? Any time for discussion, for questions, comments, anything? Can the technology...
Anyone has any questions for Rabbi Friedman, feel free to enter it into the chat. We agreed to do some questions and answers. Thank you so much for the amazing inspiration. And the learning should be in merit of the Refuah Shalema, complete healing for Tzvi. And like Rabbi Friedman said, Revach v'hatzala yamed la Yehudim makom acher. That's for sure. Tzvi will receive the blessings that he needs. But it's our part that we could do. There's something that we could do to hasten the healing for Tzvi, say some tehillim for him, daven for him, give tzedakah for him, learn in his chus. You could take part of it and make a real difference.
Yeah.
You
see, when Tzvi comes home and says to you, I'm back, I'm healthy, you should be able to say, I know, I did it. Not, oh, wow, amazing, you're back. Of course you're back. We brought you back. We weren't sitting idle, waiting, hoping. We did something, so of course you're back.
You know, Rabbi Friedman, everybody's wondering about this year's Rosh Hashanah, if it's going to be in Shul or where it's going to be, and I'm getting all the calls about whether we're going to do our high holiday program. So I want to just say that Tzvi's parents came several times to our hotel program, and God willing, hopefully this pandemic will finally end, and everyone will be able to go back to their shul and our hotel program. Hopefully it'll happen in Yerushalayim with the Beis HaMikdash, but if it isn't, we're going to have it. God willing, we signed with the Turnberry, and hopefully you'll be there, and Tzvi will be there in good health with his family or wherever he goes. But we shouldn't have to do this in Zoom. We should be able to meet together for all our tefillas. We should not be able to be in shul and combine our tefillas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu And as you said, this year has been a very trying year, but hopefully it's the darkness before the light, that we should truly see the lights of the whole temple illuminated, becoming Mashiach speedily in our days.
If Rosh Hashanah we're not in the Beis Hamikdash, but we're with you in a hotel, then we'll have to make the hotel into a Beis Hamikdash.
Okay, amen. I see there's one question. They're not hard questions. There's only one question. And if somebody didn't make today's session, where could they see it? So again, you can go to Chabad of Florida Facebook. It'll be there. And I will share also, I'll be on YouTube. We're gonna trim it up and put it on YouTube, and I'll share it with the rabbis and on YouTube, Chabad SWB. You go to youtube.com, Chabad SWB, and you could have Rabbi Friedman and all the lectures that we've been featuring during this pandemic. So you can catch it if you know anyone who wants to hear these wonderful, inspiring words from Rabbi Friedman. Like I said, go to Chabad of Florida Facebook, and you can see it there live on Facebook. And I'll put there the link shortly from the YouTube. And truly, Tzvi ben Reina Malka should have a refuah shlema. My parents were actually diagnosed 2 days ago with the virus. And Baruch Hashem, they're holding their own. They should have a refuah shlema. And anyone else who's battling the coronavirus or any illness, Kol Chelei Yisrael should truly have a refuah shlema. They
will have a refuah shlema.
They will, from all the Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah that we're committing to. So we should only hear Besurot Tovot.
Amen. Amen. What is really amazing that we're able to gather together right in the middle of the day. It's a Friday, it's before Shabbos, everyone is busy, and we're still getting together for Tefillah and for learning, for Tzvi. Tefillah Hamincha is the most special prayer because it comes in the middle of the busy day. And so the Eibishter should hear our prayers.
The Eibishter will hear our prayers. We are in those weeks where the Haftorah is all positive. God is consoling us, reassuring us that the Golus is temporary, that all the problems of Golus are temporary. So it's a very positive, optimistic time of the year.
I should say
a rebound from Tisha B'Av.
We should see Teiv Hanira V'Hanigla, revealed good.
Amen, amen.
A question I wanted to ask
you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Rabbi Friedman, you talked about the preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Is there something, an approach this year different than every other year because of the circumstances that we are in and the environment in the world in general? Something unique about this year's approach to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur?
However it's going to happen, and wherever we're going to be, Rosh Hashanah this year is absolutely good news. If we needed to be sobered up, we're pretty sober by now. We don't need any more of that. So we don't need a sober Rosh Hashanah. We need a really optimistic, enthusiastic Rosh Hashanah. Because the coming year is going to deserve that kind of enthusiasm.
Amen. The next Zoom, Emir Hashem, is going to be together with Tzvi on, joining us together with his full health. And may this be already in the coming week. After Shabbos, we should be able to have this next Zoom with Tzvi together in the full health, celebrating the simchas of the birth of his granddaughters. This would be definitely the Shabbos for Tzvi to celebrate with the Chaim and tremendous joy for his whole mishpacha.
It says that when Mashiach comes, he will teach the world. He will teach Torah to the whole world. And, we try to imagine what that's going to be like, and we never understood. How does one man teach the whole world simultaneously? Of course, over many years, you can reach the whole world. But it says that he's going to be teaching the whole world every day. Well, now we know. We know how it can be done to teach the whole world at the same time. This is the new yeshiva, biggest yeshiva in history. The yeshiva called Zoom. So if anybody asks, where did you get your education? Say, in the Zoom yeshiva. There is so much learning going on. It is the biggest yeshiva ever. So many teachers, so many subjects. Constantly. And you can hear it a second time. When was it possible to ask your Rosh Yeshiva to repeat the whole lesson again? Now you can do it. It's amazing.
I want to tell you that when the pandemic started, so Rabbi Friedman's son asked me if I want to have him as a guest. And I figured for my 10 people who come onto my Zoom, to have Rabbi Friedman, let me share it with the public. And I started from that week. Rabbi Friedman was my very first Zoom session, a featured session. And we had that week 350 people sign on Zoom. Last week, and we've been doing it every single week for Wednesday. Next week is going to be Raiders of the Lost City, Jerusalem Unearthed, about the fascinating archaeological project that started a year ago, that they discovered a year ago. But I will say that the last couple of weeks, it's grown because we figured out how to put it on Facebook Live. And now every single week, over 3,000 people come onto our weekly Zooms. So big yasher koyach to Rabbi Friedman and his son for really getting me started. I have now a new Zoom career. So what you're saying is very true. The Torah has truly spread to all the as we know that it says Mashiach will come when the teachings of Torah are disseminated to all the different corners of the world, and Zoom has been a vehicle to make this possible. So thank you for that initiative, Rabbi Friedman.
We could actually get to like this. I know I'm getting to like it. No airports, no flights, no cancellations. It's a pleasure.
Oh, and in school, you don't have to get a call from the principal to come pick up your kid. It's like great.
Yeah. Let's take full advantage of it.
I have actually, let's one question we have from someone. And, we talked very optimistic about, very positive, and God willing, Tzvi is going to recover as we're all praying here for. But we have somebody asking, what can be told to a family member of those who, Rahman al-Islan, God forbid, didn't make it? Unfortunately, not everybody has come out of this virus positive. And if somebody has suffered a loss, they're asking, what could we tell, or what message do you have for those who haven't been as fortunate?
I'm not sure that this is the best time or place to talk about that, since we're all in optimist mode. Why talk about the good part of the good news for those who have passed away? I just want to say one brief thing. The people who have passed away in the last few months, many of them, had no Kaddish said for them because there's no minyan. People aren't going to synagogue, so there's no Kaddish. They also didn't have big funerals. They didn't have hundreds of people. Statistically, the average funeral, or the average person who passes away, brings 200 people to his funeral. Nobody had 200 people at their funeral. So no funeral, no Kaddish. That's terrible. To not have Kaddish said, that was like the most dreadful thought for a Jew in Europe. The thought that he's going to die and nobody is going to know and they won't say Kaddish. And here you have people who pass away and there's no Kaddish. Not by choice. Not even because of anti-Semitism like in Europe. Here, God arranged that there should be no Kaddish. Which tells us something really, really unique, unprecedented. The people who are passing away now don't need Kaddish. They don't need it. And they don't need a big funeral to make an impression on heaven that this is an important person, treat him nice. See, that's what a big funeral is for. Wow, so many people, this must be an important. No, they don't need it. They don't need it. And that's because there are people who passed away who have been in heaven for a long time, and they need to be remembered. Yizkor means to be remembered. You don't say Yizkor the first year after someone passes away, because he doesn't have to be remembered. Nobody's forgotten him. After a year, there's the possibility that you're starting to forget. So you say Yizkor to remember. The people who have passed away in these last couple of months are going to be coming back so soon that there's no need. There are souls in heaven for 4,000 years waiting to come back. They have to be remembered. They need Kaddish. But the souls that are coming back very quickly, it's like, don't remember me because you're not going to forget me. I'm coming right back. So there's an amazing thing going on with the people who passed away in the last couple of months. It's not the same. Something different. They don't need Kaddish. The moral of the story is, we have this impression, unquestioned, that was never challenged. The message or the impression is, life is very temporary, fleeting, brief. Death is forever. That's a universally accepted fact. Life is temporary, death is forever. And that is so wrong, so wrong. It's such morbid thinking. Life is temporary. Life that is rich and purposeful and meaningful, that's temporary. Death that is meaningless and empty, that's forever? No. Death is temporary. First of all, when Mashiach comes, nobody will die anymore. So death is temporary in that it serves a purpose, and then when it's finished serving its purpose, it's discontinued. We're going to stop dying. Secondly, those who have passed away, it's only temporary. They're going to come back to life because life is real and meaningful and holy and godly and exciting and productive. That's forever. Death, I don't know, whatever purpose it served, it's done. So death is temporary, life is forever. To think otherwise is already depressing. It doesn't sound godly. God gives us life, but death takes it away. Ah, come on. Don't believe it. So those who have passed away are going to be coming back, not after 4,000 years, but very shortly. And therefore, they don't need all the rituals and all the activities surrounding death, because their death is brief. Death is temporary. A lot to think about.
Yep. And, thank you, Rabbi Barash, for all this initiative for these Friday afternoon classes and for really being on top of everything. And thank you also to the Young Israel. Rabbi Barash, you want any parting words on a positive note? Say, wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the communities that joined, that we mentioned before. Also the community in Toronto with Rabbi Gansberg. Thank you to Rabbi Friedman, Rabbi Pinny for arranging the technical connection. And we should go straight from into this Shabbos with Mashiach coming now and with a positive energy. Trach gut wird sein gut, think well, will be well, it surely is well and will be well in a revealed way.
Can I share with you one Torah thought?
Yeah.
We know Moshe was up on the mountain receiving the 10 Commandments. The Jews at the bottom of the mountain created an idol, a golden calf. God says to Moshe, I'm afraid you're going to have to go down. Your people messed up. They created a graven image. Moshe comes down with the 10 Commandments in his arms. And he sees the egel, he sees the golden calf. What does he do? He throws the luchos down and breaks them. The question is, God told Moshe the Jews made an idol. Why didn't he just leave the 10 Commandments and not bring them down? Why are you bringing them down and then breaking them? You already knew that the Jews messed up and they should not receive the 10 Commandments. So why bring them down at all? You ready for this? It's amazing. The Medrash says, Moshe brought the luchos down because he did not believe that Jews would make an idol. Until he saw it with his own eyes, he didn't believe it. Now, wait a minute. Who told him that the Jews made an idol? God himself. What do you mean he didn't believe it? God told him. See, that's what a Jewish leader is. This is so awesome. He was a true Jewish leader. A Jewish leader does not believe bad things said about his people. He can't believe it. Even if God himself says. This was not a failing on Moshe's part. This is his greatness. God said the Jews made an idol. Moshe thought, well, I don't know what you mean by an idol. Maybe you mean on some spiritual level, maybe according to, but no, not an idol. My people would never do that. So until he saw it with his own eyes, he simply would not believe it. That's Avas Yisrael. That's a love of your fellow Jew. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos to everyone. Thank you again.